Are you an introvert who sometimes struggles to communicate in the workplace? Me too, I've definitely been there. So in this video, I'm going to give you some communication tips that will help you to make sure that your voice is heard. So before we dive into the specifics, just want to let you know my name is Dr. Patricia Thompson. I'm a corporate psychologist and executive coach with silverliningpsychology.com. And if you want to get more videos about how to be successful in the workplace, make sure to like and subscribe, click the bell, and you'll get notified every time that I post a new video. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about introversion. So for a lot of people, they might think of introversion as being socially awkward, being really shy, being uncomfortable around people. And while that can present itself as introversion in some people, that's not all that introversion is about. Essentially, introversion just has to do with where you get your energy from. Extroverts tend to feed off of other people. They tend to like to think out loud and be where the action is. Whereas introverts tend to need more quiet time. And so it's not that introverts dislike other people, it's just that being around other people can drain their energy. And so a lot of introverts might have a lot of friends or people who they enjoy spending time with, but they also really value their quiet time. Introversion is also characterized by processing internally, so really thinking about what you want to say before you choose to say it, if you choose to say it. But really just spending a lot of time, reflecting, thinking internally, and not minding your solitude. Okay, so my first tip is to use your listening skills to your advantage. There's actually been research that has found that introverts tend to be better than extroverts at observing and picking up on group dynamics. And primarily that's because introverts tend to be more prone to sit back and to observe and to really watch what's happening. And so if you're able to use those good listening skills and your ability to observe the group to your advantage, that will help you in terms of navigating the workplace. The workplace often has politics and different things going on. And if you're able to recognize those and adjust your behavior accordingly, that's going to give you an advantage relative to your extrovert peers. I also recommend for introverts to use their skill for selective speaking. So typically what you find is for introverts, because they tend to process internally and think about what they want to say before they say it, they're more likely to express their thoughts as fully formed thoughts than an extrovert would be who is thinking aloud. Also, you often find that introverts, when they do speak up, everybody listens because they might not speak up all the time. And so often they can add really insightful and thoughtful comments, particularly if they've been observing what's going on. So what I would encourage you to do is if you're the sort of introvert who is thinking about what you want to say and then wondering, should I say this? Should I not? And being overly conservative about what's valuable enough to share, take the risk to speak out loud and say what you're thinking. You might just find that you're able to add to the conversation and that your viewpoints will be recognized more fully. Another thing that can be helpful is if you work in a place where there are meeting agendas, then you will have a sense of the sorts of things that people might be bringing up in the meetings. And so what I recommend is to prep ahead of time and get your thoughts together on an issue. If you're an introvert, you may have a harder time processing everything at the moment, thinking about what you want to say and getting it out in time. Often I hear from introverts that they say, I think about the perfect thing to say after the meeting. And so to counteract that, if you're in a place where they have agendas, then look at it through, get some thoughts down so that when they're on that topic, you'll already had some time to process the information. And if you work at a place where they don't have meeting agendas, then what I would recommend you do is recommend that they do get meeting agendas and perhaps point them to some articles which suggest how that tends to create a more inclusive meeting setting for everyone. The next thing that I would recommend is giving yourself opportunities to practice. I actually used to be really, really shy. I'm still an introvert. I need my time to decompress, but I am no longer what I would describe as a shy person. But the way that I got over it was actually by putting myself in instances where I got a lot of practice meeting people. Initially in my career as a consultant, I had to meet a lot of people, and although I was shy, eventually I got over it and really started to value the opportunity to get to interact with different people. I also, when I was in graduate school, started teaching. And while I can say that I was very nervous before and, didn't love public speaking, across time, I got more and more used to it. And so actually what I did was for my first class, I taught in the evening because I thought there would be fewer people in the class. And I taught a higher level class because I thought there would be fewer people in the class. And so I started with a class of 30. And then eventually across time, once I got more reps under my belt, I ended up teaching a class of intro psychology, which had 150 to 200 students. And I was able to get over the butterflies and the nervousness just by getting myself out there essentially and getting a lot of practice and realizing that even though it was uncomfortable, I didn't die. I was okay at it. And so I just kind of took little baby steps towards putting myself out there. Same thing right now. The fact that I am on here creating a YouTube video to share is not something that I typically would have done before. But now I recognize that I have valuable things to say and to share, and I want to get them out there. And I guess I'm putting more emphasis on the ability to be able to help others than concern about how I might look doing it. And that has helped me to get over some of my introversion. Just realizing that I can tolerate the discomfort and that there are some rewards as a result of doing so. I don't want this video to be too long, so I want to just give you one more recommendation, and that's just being mindful of your schedule. I know that early on when I was consulting and I didn't have a lot of control over my schedule, the way that it was packed was that I had back to back to back to back to back to back clients. In fact, I can remember when there were days where I would fly into a client, so I'd have to get up at 5 a.m. We would have our first client at 8. I would have them back to back to back until 5 o'clock. And then we would be expected to go out to drinks and to dinner with the client. And that for me as an introvert was absolute torture. By the end of the day, I was so wiped out. And then it would be a 2-day trip and I would have to do the same thing all over again. But now that I have more control over my schedule, I don't do that. If my schedule's getting too packed, I make sure to put in wiggle room time between appointments, even if it's like 15 minutes, just so that I can decompress a little bit. And I'm really intentional about knowing what I need to be able to recharge and to be at my best. And so if you're able to have some control over your schedule, then make sure that you build in breaks for yourself, even if it's just a bathroom break to take a few minutes to meditate and breathe. And you'll find that you're better able to keep up with the demands of your schedule. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you picked up some tips that are helpful to you as an introvert. If you'd like to learn other ways to become more effective on your job, then I encourage you to check out my blog at silverliningpsychology.com. I've also got a lot of online courses on everything from leadership to mindfulness to management and holding people accountable. I've got a resilience course for nurses. I have, what else did I say? Emotional intelligence. I have a lot of courses. So I encourage you to check those out in the links below and see if there's a way that they can help you. I'm also a coach, and so if you'd like to work one-on-one, you can reach out to me as well on my website and we can chat and see if we'd be a good fit to work together. That's it. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next video.